It's time for the Situation Podcast with Brother Z and Antone. How are you, Brother Z?
I'm good. This is Antoine. I'm Z. This is the Situation Podcast. And we tonight are going to talk about the vinyl.
And more probably on subject matter. We're talking about the power of the power of vinyl music. It's the analog world tonight here at the Situation Podcast, and I'm excited to be here. I just want to call out before we start, we've got the brother Stevie Ray Vaughan, the Double Trouble album in the background. We're going to be talking about some albums as we go through tonight, but we're going to start with that. But before we start, let's go back. I think a couple of you saw the Hunt episode earlier where we were trying to find the apartment and we ended up 5242 and we had the Marshall amp and we thought we tuned it well. How did you find that, Ziad, with the digital sound?
Honestly, initially when Anthony was telling me about the vinyl and the whole system, like, the whole record player with the, amp and the sound system and the speakers, basically, I thought it's going to be the same. I have my own JBL. It works well. I connect it in the morning. I have my shower. I go to work. But honestly, it wasn't the same.
I'm comforted by the fact you have a shower before you go to work. But we did our best and we mixed it and we got it to where we were. But the thing about digital, it's binary. It's on. It's off. It's one. It's 0 and 1 actually. I think is the binary digital way. But analog is a different listening experience. The digital is a compressed sound. The analog is an open sound. But I just want to ask the brother Z a question about his car stereo, the Bluetooth versus the USB.
I mean, it was a completely different experience because, I work in Dubai and obviously, I go to work, I go to the office, I go to the agencies, I go like this, the type of work I do. And I drive a lot between different locations, obviously left, right, and center, along Sheikh Zayed, inside the town, outside
Sheikh
the town.
Zayed, like Sheikh Zayed Road. Yeah. Stand by for the upcoming podcast.
Exactly. And for me, it was always problematic to, even since 2006, I would say, to listen to the radio because it was always commercial. It was like, wasn't happy.
So what I did is I took I've been a little bit, I think I can use the word blessed with my music.
If you may.
And exactly. So what I did with the USB for the Alfa Romeo is drop some tracks, and we'll talk about soon about some of our favorite tracks.
Which I listen to every day, by the way.
Yeah. But what is a compressed sound for me is a sound that is rushed. And one of the things that we've both found, in particular, let's go all the way back to the Doha World Cup. Let's go back in time a little bit. It's where Brother Z and I first met. And I think I had an Italian pasta evening. And back then, alas, I had my vintage Yamaha system with the Cambridge Audio speakers. Bought this in 1980. Yes, I'm getting old. With my first paycheck, and we had an evening that night. You came along, Brother Z.
I did, and there was the Italian pasta with the lemon pasta,
Milano Italiana fettuccine limone,
if you may, and it was a great one. It's funny because like Anthony was playing vinyl, and it was great. Something felt good. And then at some point, I decided I'm going to go back to digital music, and I played some music because there were some, different nationalities, Arabs, Europeans, Australians, as you know, like this is the whole, thing going on.
Multicultural, I think is the word you're looking for. Back at the Italian nights, we had Brother G, and he was a guy that would, he'd head off normally at 9 p.m.
9 p.m.
He'd go home at 9 p.m. And that was his thing, and everyone understands. And he came to us 11 p.m.
He was in shock.
He said, "Why am I still here?" And he was listening to the music, and it had this power. We're going to talk a little bit more about the power over people. But I want to talk about vinyl in your apartment, in your house. And I guess for me, the note I've written in is it fills the gaps.
It does, and it does something that no digital music does. Like when you are listening to anything coming from a digital device, you can feel that it's coming from that device.
It does, and it's just not there. It's not omnipresent. You have to, like for example, you've got to get up and turn it over. You've got to get up and turn the vinyl over, and that's one of the big things. But for me, it comes from this analog world. I, spent 10 years plus playing live music. I'm a Hammond organ man. I'm a tone wheel guy. I'm a valve amp guy. More to follow. What is it? Why does it feel? Is it warmth? Do you feel encouraged? Why does it fill the gaps, Ziad?
I feel it's a 360 experience because this is exactly what happened back in Doha in 2022 prior to the World Cup. And this is exactly the same
Is it a
feeling.
pre-World Cup situation?
It's a pre-World Cup situation.
Cheers, brother.
Cheers. And then in 2023, like in December, I would say just before us leaving to the, holidays, we invited them over, and everyone was just like shocked. Like everyone's just like sitting around the table in the middle of the living room. I could show you the living room, now, but it was exactly the same situation. No one wanted to go outside. No one wanted to go to the balcony.
People gathered. And
People gathered. This is it.
And when
People
I say gathered, we were hosting this party, and we set the chairs up outside, and we got ready. We got our snacks and bites and all the stuff that you do. And the vinyl was on, but what we found is that people formed a circle right near the vinyl.
They did. It's like there was a fireplace, and
It was. It's very much like the Italian night. And the same thing happened. People sat on the floor as well.
Same thing.
I mean, maybe it's just because we're cheap asses and we have no seats.
I mean,
what do you think?
I mean, maybe that's the situation, but I don't think so, because honestly, it had the same effect on me. And this is exactly why I love the USB that I have in my car, because every time I'm driving on Sheikh Zayed, I'm just like in such a relaxed mode just because of this music.
So what happens when you drop the needle?
Magic.
I mean, a few of you, most of you, you'd go to DJs, you go to live mixes, and the DJs are playing the records, and you feel great, whether or not you're happy, you're sad. I know myself, every day I put the vinyl music on, and every day I enjoy it. In fact, just before we were recording tonight, we've been working on the script, and as you know, we put a lot of work here in at the Situation Podcast, and we popped a couple of vinyls on earlier tonight, and we found that the warmth, the real sound, it makes us feel better, and it also makes the environment feel better. We're going to be talking about the same effect that lighting has as well, but I guess there's a couple of things I want to ask you, Brother Z.
Tell me, Antoine.
When you first came across the vinyl and what we're going to call the real sound, how did you feel?
Honestly, initially I was like, this is the same. It doesn't make a difference. It's music, whatever. I have it on my iPod. I have it on my phone. I have it everywhere.
And then what happened?
But then a bit by bit, and then I started to understand where this guy is coming from. It's different. I don't know how to explain it. Is it the wires? Is it the needle? Is it the stylus? Is it the crackling sound of the vinyl itself? It's just different. It really entered my heart.
It's a bit like on a cold day when you have soup.
Exactly. It's
It
like
warms your soul.
It warms your soul. It's like comfort food on a Christmas night.
Wow. There's been a circle. There's a circle of sound. And one of the things that we like to talk about here in the Situation Podcast, and by all means, you let us know what you think. In fact, we were saying earlier, Ziad, what's your favorite? Do you have a favorite album? Or, and then when I say album, to get a favorite album, there's a couple of things you have to do. One, you might like an album. What's your favorite artist on vinyl, Brother Z?
I'm gonna go back into the explanation of how this guy became my favorite guy on. I'm a guy who's not into vinyl. I don't listen to music which is like in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s. Frank Sinatra, for example, was like a great thing to me until I started listening to vinyl, and I was like, no, it's not about Frank Sinatra. It's not about those like commercial names, you know. Frank Sinatra is great. Don't get me wrong, but for me, Freddie King, for example, is my
Freddie King.
yeah. Freddie King is my favorite now.
Exact. Well,
You
and
know,
yeah,
you have BB King,
Albert King.
Albert King, but personally, Freddie King is the one I listen to every morning. I have him on my SoundCloud now. I have him in my car. I have him everywhere. Like it just
Yeah.
changes your perspective on this type of music.
And I think that's one of the things, like, why does it change perspective? Why, Brother Z is come across some of this music, and like we go back to what we talked about earlier, we put the vinyl on, it has an effect. I guess for us here at the Situation Podcast, and we've got the Double Trouble album here in the background, and like if I'm going to talk about a couple of examples, like Brother Jack McDuff, for me, my godfather, Jimmy McGriff, Jimmy Smith, they're all Jimmys. Jimmy Vaughan is an amazing artist. I have, if you're having not every day is a good day, as my daughter would say.
Tell them, Antoine, about the experience that you had. We went to this place in Dubai, which is called the Jazz Lounge, which I'm pretty sure you guys know.
JASS.
Yeah, and it's a good place. I mean, on a Friday specifically. But Antoine, I took him. He was new in town. I was like, I'm gonna take his jazz place. We went there.
I was taken.
And then, Antoine, what happened when you started?
Well, it was funny. It was a funny situation. They said they gave me a napkin, and they said write 3 or 4 songs, and we'll play them. We play any music. So I wrote down a couple of tunes, songs that I know, a couple of jazz standards.
On a napkin situation.
Autumn Leaves was one of the ones I wrote. But then I wrote down, a couple of the more blues-focused Albert King, Freddie King, Jimmy Vaughan, Fabulous Thunderbirds, Stevie Ray Vaughan, and it's the Texas blues kind of influence, Booker T and the MGs. And the part of the story I think that Brother Z wants me to say is I wrote them all down, and they came back and went,
they were like clueless.
Sorry, we don't know these. And that's fine. That is completely fine.
That's fine, and actually that turned into a friendship. You know why? Because the guys decided to sit with us.
Oh yeah.
They came to our table, they sat with us. We had a
Just
drink with
like
them.
the Italian party, just like the 5242, they sat down, and that's the real power of it. I think I don't know what you feel. Let us know. Like, hopefully you've been watching a few of our episodes. If not, go back through. You can find us at the podcast, Situation Podcast. What's the name of the channel, Brother Z?
It's basically the situation.
It's a Situation High Performance
the
podcast.
situation, and it's at the Situation Pod. This is the channel, and we're going to start growing this channel and see how it goes. We have 4 episodes so far.
I think in the can, but many coming out soon.
Many coming out soon.
The YouTube shorts are certainly something. One of the things I want to talk about before we conclude on the power of vinyl is that, I'm fascinated by early recordings. And it's one of the powers and one of the things that Ziad and I are here we're doing. Like we're here in the studio tonight. We've got an upgraded lighting system tonight that
We have.
yeah.
It's a bit.
we're quite excited
we can
about.
see it here.
Yeah, but we might need to think about changing that around. But
we're trying our best.
Some of the recordings were just like this in the early years. Some of the early recording people, they go into the studio and they'd have 4-track recording. Now, I think it's 128 track plus 4 voices per recording, plus the visualization and the AI overlay. And actually, AI is something we're going to be talking about again soon.
That's one of the episodes that we're going to have.
But when you hear some of this pure power and passion music, it is very, very powerful, which is one of the things that I think when we asked the question earlier, what is that power?
True. And I agree with that. And this is, I think, a question for the next episode.
Well, there's always questions, and there's plenty of questions. And in fact, Brother Z, thank you for reminding me. If you've got a question, drop it down there. We'll come back to you. We're going to do our best to answer every comment. Now, we've been flooded with comments and interest so far, but like that's part of what we're here for. We want to engage with you guys. We want to make sure that you're part of what we're doing. Vinyl tonight is a subject. It brings people in, and we're really wanting to do that. Like for me, if I talk about records, I talk about my first little personal story. One moment there, Brother Z.
Of course.
I left school. I think I was 18, and I went and I had a job, and I was working. I think I was getting paid 200 Australian dollars a week at the time, which was not very much money. But I decided when I got my first paycheck, I'd buy my vinyl system. I bought a beautiful Yamaha system, which of course is vintage now. We go back to 5242. I got my first contract payment. I went out and I did the same thing. And I really appreciate that what I did, the decision I made to do that, because I think it's special. And like you go to the vinyl shop. Let's talk a little bit about the other day, Brother Z, when you went to the vinyl shop.
Not because now I'm in the process of trying to buy my own vinyl system. You know, the record player with speakers and amp. And I found this place. It's great in Bersha, and where we can.
We'll drop a link down below
if
you want to know the shop we went to.
And I want to buy it. Actually, after this episode, I'm buying it. It's done. I bought it.
He might be able to get to the passion.
No, it's done. I bought it.
But like it's been a full circle of sound, and I think you know, I don't know what age you are out there watching us, but there was vinyl, then there was cassette tapes, then there was CD, then there was Spotify, iTunes. But you know what? The world's coming back to vinyl, and they're coming back for a reason. They're coming back for that why. It fills the gaps. It makes you feel warm. There's a real sound about it.
And you know why?
Tell me, Brother Z.
Because the world lacks authenticity.
We're going to do a pod on this very soon. We're going to do a pod on where and what we're doing. But let's wrap up for tonight. I hope some of the points we've made have resonated with you. But what I'd really like to know, Brother Z, what I'd like to know is, do you listen to vinyl? Do you?
Let us know.
And if you do, what's your favorite album? And if you've got a favorite album, we're happy to dedicate an episode on a theme or a sound, be it soul, blues, rock, roll, dance, retro, techno, whatever it is, let us know and we're going to talk about it. But for now, I want to say cheers, Brother Z. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Cheers, brother.
Talking about the power of vinyl, and we'll talk to you in the next episode. It's time for the Situation Podcast with Brother Z and Antone.